Just something to be aware of. What was that?
I don't know.
Hey everyone, that's Steve. And
That's
I'm Ryan.
And this is 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, modding, fixing, breaking, reviewing, playing podcast.
That's true, Steve. This is the guitar buying, selling, trading, fixing, modding, breaking, and reviewing, and playing sometimes podcast. We have a guitar from the internet here.
Yeah, this was sent by Jonah Reeves.
We're stepping all over each other this episode.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, I think I remember this listing.
It's not even a listing. It's
post.
It's a post from Reddit, and it's interesting because you can go to the post now, and the original poster has removed the original post, but all the comments are still there.
Oh.
So they were trying to track down information on this guitar, and it sounds like they were on the trail to getting there, and then at some point decided to just remove information from the post. So who knows what happened?
Hello. A coworker owns this guitar, and I'm trying to help him solve the ongoing mystery of where it came from. It has a very long ownership story with many rumors, but nobody has been able to identify who made it. It's about 20 pounds, appears to be all metal. Sounds killer, but has no name, markings, or serial number to speak of. Owners trace back to the early 80s, but it may have been built before then. Any leads or info about this guitar would be much appreciated. Feel free to ask more questions if need be. I figure someone somewhere has to know something about this thing. So this is like, I'm trying to just figure out how to describe this guitar before reading other comments. It's like made out of like one piece.
I'm assuming it's all aluminum. This looks like an all aluminum guitar.
Sure.
I really am. I'm compelled by this design because, yeah, it looks like it's one piece, aluminum neck, connecting to a mostly empty body. There's a bit of like a spider web sort of thing going on here, but not really. It's not trying to be a spider web, but it has that element to it. The thing that I find really compelling is that the bridge and the pickup are on a piece that are floating on two bars of metal into the middle of the guitar.
A little pickup island, you might say.
A little pickup island. And then the body itself is the layers of strips of metal kind of surrounding the shape in kind of like a shovel sort of shape, I suppose you could say, like a snow shovel sort of element here, or like a canoe oar of some sort. And I'm just looking at this like, it's got me thinking about this theory that if you separate the resonant parts of the guitar farther away from your human flesh body,
right,
that maybe the guitar will ring out a little bit different, because like you think about your body, when you put your hand on a string, it mutes it. If you put your body against a guitar, it's got to have a similar effect where it is soaking up some of that resonance, where this seems like, in theory, it's isolating the resonating parts of the guitar away from your body more than a normal guitar would. I'm a little bit compelled by the idea of what I'm looking at here.
Right. I want to riff off that idea for a second.
Sure.
So Dumble was back at NAMM. And everyone's talking about this, and I was listening to Dipped in Tone today, and they were saying how the Dumble boot, like, one, you could get in, and it felt like they were doing, like, Rhett said that he went in, he felt like he was getting vibe checked to get, like, they were vibe checking people to go in, and even when they were in there, he kind of made it sound like he felt like he was inconveniencing them by being there. Like, it was kind of just an odd experience.
Well, if I had gone, I definitely would have been.
But it's like he wasn't talking to them. He was like just checking out the stuff, because it was like it was like a history, like a museum exhibit.
Sure.
But also they're launching as a company. Anyway, go check out Dipped in Tone for that. The thing that made me think of this is, and what you were talking about is this whole like your body absorbs the thing, is there needs to be, like, it's so gross to say this, but whatever, a PRS like, you know, where every little thing adds or subtracts to the resonant quality of the guitar. But instead it's like a guy who builds, like, say he builds a Les Paul type guitar, And it's like, before I sell this to you, I need you to send me your measurements.
Right,
Like,
right.
Oh, you're like my case, like, oh, you're 6'2", 240. I can't sell you the Les Paul. You're going to absorb too many of the frequencies. You have to buy the SG body type.
No, you can't send him. You can't send this builder your stats. You have to go to them, and they have to immerse you into a tank to figure out your exact volume and mass, and they have to figure out where all your resonance in your body lives.
They're gonna do a whole
do X-rays. And
was it Archimedes? Who was the one who discovered, like, the Greek scientist, philosopher, whatever, that discovered displacement?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think
it's one of them. Don't worry about it too much. It's one of the commenters will tell us which Greek guy that was.
But yeah, they probably have some like resonant, like they have
probably
those
something
now.
Pythagoras did on the weekend for fun one time.
It might have been Pythagoras
when he wasn't working.
No, it was Archimedes.
All right.
Archimedes.
It sounds like something Archimedes would do.
Yeah,
silly goofball.
So I'm just thinking, like, there's some builder who's going to be like, send me your picture, your height, weight. Oh, you need to go to the doctor and send me like your blood type and all the this stuff, because he's going to
need to measure your bone density.
He's going to calculate the perfect guitar for your body.
Do you have all your teeth? Like what?
You're going to like
hyper specific tailored guitar.
You're going to get the guitar, but between ordering the guitar and receiving the guitar, you're going to get like some illness and lose like 20 pounds. And then when you get the guitar, that'll be part of it. That'll be part of it. He'll be like, so
where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Have you been gaining weight or losing weight? I see that you're 45. Things could go all sorts of different directions in the next decade. What do you see happening? Are you health conscious or are you sedentary? Like really getting like a bead. Because mostly they just need to know how to cut the belly cut for you. Like, does it need to be bigger or does it need to be smaller? Like the belly cut is going to be so precise that there's going to be a little spot that sticks into your belly button. Like it's just going to connect right there, and you're going to feel at home when this guitar is sitting on you.
All right. So the story, the OP goes on. The story I got was it was bought in a storage auction in Hollywood, California, somewhere between 1982 and 1984 due to payment delinquency. It was in a box labeled Jet Records. The gentleman that bought it owned it up until 1999 when he gifted it to a friend. Said friend owned it until 2013 when he sold it to Dave's Guitar Shop in Wisconsin. That's where my coworker bought it. It was rumored to have been owned / played at some point by Randy Rhoads, but we have no physical proof of that. The story with Randy Rhoads came from one of the prior owners. He supposedly took a picture of the guitar to a meet and greet with Ozzy at the Mall of America in the late 90s, early 2000s. Apparently, Ozzy said, "That's Randy's guitar." Told the owner at the time he needed to get the guitar back to Randy's mother. Problem is, none of this was documented in writing or photos, so as of now, it's just a story.
But it also kind of sounds like something Ozzy would just say in like a confused moment, like.
Or like, what if it was a bit? What if it was just a bit?
He says that everywhere that he goes.
Yeah, anyone who brings him a guitar for any reason,
right?
He's just like, oh, is that Randy's guitar?
That must be Randy's guitar.
It's like a Takamine acoustic. Oh, that's Randy's. Like,
but also
that would be such a great bit.
I could totally see Randy Rhoads absolutely owning something like this.
Yeah,
like it's totally plausible. Let's talk about some other features of the guitar. I really am compelled by the headstock. Like it's exploring what you can and cannot do with an all metal construction here.
Yeah.
Just these little branches of metal extending out to hold each individual tuner. It's really striking and different and unique. I'm trying to remember the name of the builder that made aluminum guitars back in the 70s and the 80s. They had this headstock that was like this split, like earwig V horn thing.
Travis Bean.
Was it? No, it's not Travis Bean.
You're not thinking of Travis Bean?
Because Travis Bean has the headstock that has a T in it. There's an older guy, unless that was his previous headstock, and it had like a little gem on it.
Yeah, I guess Travis Bean does have, it's like a
Yeah,
T.
Travis Bean has the T. Like, I'm thinking of a completely different, like, metal guitar maker.
Oh, okay.
I'll track it down. Editing, Ryan. Put up a picture of what the hell I'm talking about. Good luck finding it.
Because I know, like, I think
they had a display of them at the last Summer NAMM that I went to 4 years ago.
Okay. It's not, you're not thinking of like the Ampeg aluminum necks either.
No. It's a very specific builder with a very specific, unique name, and I can't think of it right now. But I'll track it down.
John Smith.
It's John Smith.
That
Pocahontas' boyfriend.
Very unique name, John Smith.
But I don't know, this thing's cool. They weren't selling it. They were just trying to track down information. If you had to guess, Steve, what this thing was worth, what would you guess?
It depends on,
if the Randy story is true.
Any of that stuff can be proven.
Let's just base it on vibes of the guitar, of the quality of the build, of what's going on here. Very interesting knob and control stuff going on here.
Yeah.
The output jack, it makes sense. You've got a switch here, and you've got some sort of little other control situation going on that goes straight through the side to the output jack. But then you've got this floating bit that connects kind of around the tail where you've got 3 knobs. And there's a picture where you can kind of see that the metal is hollow. So there must be wires going through these very slim pieces of metal. I'm assuming all the way through to where the output jack is. So there's some real engineering going on with
I
this.
think that's also like, I know you mentioned it earlier, but this has like 3 layers to it. And I think that actually, to me, it looks very intentional as like part of the support structure
of course
of it all.
I think the experiment here, the thing they were trying to do is to go all metal, but try to weight relief it as much as they could, because that neck is going to be super duper heavy. But then if it has as much weight as they could take out of the body while also giving you a full size body, I think was the goal. I'm also wondering, this thing coming out of the middle bit here, is that a trim arm?
It's a trim arm.
Is that that is a very unique trim arm.
Look at the tailpiece.
Yeah.
That definitely, like, you can see where it's connected here.
How does
it's
it
almost
function?
Like it's almost like an upside down, like an inverse Bigsby is kind of what it looks like to me is going on.
There's some kind of like gear or mechanism inside to make that all work. There's got to be some sort of fat spring inside of there to power the whole thing.
I almost wonder if it's like a push pull thing. So if it's more like, is that the vibrola or that does that, where you're not like going up and down, you're going like,
possibly.
It's hard to tell.
It's there's a lot of engineering going on here. I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say that this was probably made by someone notable.
Yeah,
it is probably a missing part of someone's collection, and it is probably worth high thousands.
So you're saying the comments in the thread, they never identify it?
They never did. There were people who were like, "Hey, I think I have a lead. Hit me up." But in the Reddit thread, it's just left as an open mystery. Like, people didn't figure it out.
Yeah. Those are the worst. I mean, like one of my friends on Facebook keeps getting this comment from CEO of Tesla, but it just says, "Message me."
Right.
That's
Hey, I've got all this money in an offshore account. I need your help.
Yeah.
No,
send me two $50 Apple Store gift cards to unlock.
I'm gonna lay down a number. I'm gonna say this is worth $7,200.
$7,200, jeez.
And that is based on nothing.
Man, I was gonna be like, go the opposite. Is like, well, if all you can ever figure out is that it's from the 70s, like, maybe like $1,000.
There's some aluminum guitar fanatic out there who's looking at this right now, and they know exactly what it is.
If you're an aluminum guitar fanatic, let us know in the comments what this is.
Yeah. Did you notice it has 2 pickups?
I did.
It's got 2 Telecaster pickups.
Yep. One of them is so close to the neck you almost miss it.
Yeah, it's hidden there. All of this is just like, whether it's your style or not, there's a lot of brilliant engineering going on here.
You talked about the headstock earlier, but the way the headstock is, it's got like individual, like, it doesn't rely on the saddle to angle the strings.
Right.
It's got its own little,
Well,
like a string butler.
It's a 0 fret, and then the nut is essentially a string butler.
Oh, is that what it is? It's a string butler, or is it? Sorry, it's a 0 nut.
There's a 0 fret, yeah.
But I think there is a nut behind the 0 fret.
Well, there's a string guide. That the 0 fret is doing the work, man.
But do 0 fret guitars usually? Would you call that a string guide? The string guide? You wouldn't call that a nut?
Right. Guitars that have a 0 fret, they will still have something that resembles a nut.
Right.
But it doesn't carry the weight that
a
nut usually does, as far as where it doesn't matter so much where it holds the string, because it's more about just guiding it to the tuners.
So what I'm saying is this, like you said, I agree. This has a 0 fret, and then it has that guide / nut, and then it has like a rudimentary string butler behind that,
basically,
like these little screws or whatever. What I was going to say about the headstock though is I think it's really like interesting how the tuners are mounted to this. Because
the tuners are bigger than the connector. Yeah,
because they're just like pretty massive, and it seems like if there was no string on there, they would just fall out, because there's not like a top. There's not like a top, like
a washer or a nut
or anything.
No, that you're right. That's interesting. There must be a screw going through the bottom to hold it in place.
I think we have a picture of.
I think it's just because they're older tuners. I don't think that. Because you think about even older Fender tuners, they didn't have a nut that went in. They had like a push, what's it called? A ferrule.
Yeah, they just have a ferrule, and then it's screwed in the back. You're right.
Right.
You're totally right. Thank you.
So it's just an older piece of hardware there. But man, it's a trip.
Yeah.
That whole guitar is a trip. All right, what next, Steve?
Well,
we're going to do the topic.
If
we're going to do sponsorship.
If you're trying to figure out who to change strings to, and you're just kind of confused, don't trip. Head on over to stringjoy.com and buy yourself a fresh pack.
This is your worst transition ever. What are you talking about?
Stringjoy is the string. They make strings long enough for your guitar.
Hey, you out there. You're watching a guitar podcast right now, or you're listening to it. That means you probably play guitar. If you don't, there's something seriously wrong with your life decisions. So, like, why are you watching this if you don't play guitar?
Maybe they just think we're lovely gentlemen.
Or maybe we truly are the thirst trap channel that I wish we were. We're a bunch of middle-aged moms are watching this because they just love looking at us.
There could be women watching this who are just into watching two guys talk about guitar.
They just want to watch two handsome men talk about their passions.
There could be men watching this
show. It's most likely, Steve. It is most likely. That's true, Steve. Men could be watching the show for the thirst trap element of it. But it is most likely that if you're watching this show, you are a guitarist. And if you are a guitarist, I can guarantee you need strings. And if you're curious at all about strings, then you should know about Stringjoy strings. They are a sponsor of this show. And you might not know this about Stringjoy strings, but they make strings long enough for your guitar.
Yeah. So
go check them out.
Whether or not you know you wanted some strings, or you're curious of what strings to buy, you might say that you're bi-curious. Head on over to stringjoy.com and buy some strings.
Yeah, if you're bi-curious about guitar strings.
All right.
And you don't watch this channel for its thirst trap potential, then you should go check out Stringjoy.
This topic was sent by Adam Pope.
Yeah, well, his Threads username is AREXPOPE.
Yeah,
RX Pope. And he asks, what is the least useful change you can make to a guitar?
Strings. No, I'm just kidding. Kidding. Strings might be like the most important thing to keep changing on your guitar.
Oh, yeah. It's the actual most useful part of your guitar.
Yeah.
That should have been your transition, Steve. You could have transitioned into the topic.
I could
with
have,
the sponsorship.
but I didn't.
But we need to define what useful even means, because we could get so pedantic here.
Right.
Which is what we do. It's the whole core of the show, other than being thirst traps, obviously.
Let's eliminate the obvious things. Right. Changing, like any sort of change to the wood of the body, whether that's drilling it out, changing the wood out completely, that matters because tone wood, of course, it's going to be a big change.
If you want tone, you have to have more wood, and it has to be more tone wood.
The color of your guitar matters. The certain colors sound better. That's just that's just scientific fact.
In I could in reality make an argument that changing the finish of your guitar, getting your guitar refinished,
right,
will change your enthusiasm to play it. It will change whether or not you bring it out to a gig because you love the way it looks now. Like that is not a useless change. Like, I'm trying to think of anything that I could actually call a useless change.
Well, if you're just saying like, any change that makes you play the guitar more, play better is important. What I'm saying is that in 2018, Billy Corgan said changing the paint color of the guitar makes your guitar sound different.
I know.
Which is why his reverends, I think, are only available in white. Is that true? It feels true.
I don't know. True. Billy Corgan is always just trying to make sure he's in the limelight.
Well, especially in 2018. Anyway,
he's always trying to say, he's always working that racket of trying to say something to get some quoted somewhere so that people remember that he exists.
What about like pick guard?
Changing the pick guard?
Yeah. What? I mean, I don't think.
Okay, so changing it for looks or changing the material for...
Changing it for looks.
Like if you are changing a pick guard from 1-ply to 3-ply, but it's still white.
No, that's a big deal.
That's tone ply.
That will change your guitar. Well, going back to like if you think the guitar looks good or feels good, you're going to be more likely to play it.
I can find a use and I can find a justification in anything. So it's really just finding the thing that has the least amount of justification. You changing the screw that holds on your strap buttons? Like, I guess
it depends. If you're changing your strap buttons because you need a longer
I'm not
screw.
saying changing the strap buttons. I'm just saying changing the screw. Like you're like, I don't like that screw. I think it's the wrong type of metal.
Maybe it's if you're just changing it because of the type of metal and it's still the same length. Yeah, that's.
You know what? This is going to be controversial.
Say something controversial, right?
I don't think you need to change the tone fluid in your guitar every 3,000 miles.
Oh.
So brave. With today's modern synthetics, I think you can go at least 10 or 12,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's all just marketing just to keep you,
unbelievable.
Just you're paying for changes.
You are so brave. Wow.
Go ahead and clip that one, RJ.
I'm looking around.
I know, like what?
But it's not even what does or doesn't matter. It's like what is the least. The word here.
Okay. I think
sure. You can change all the plastics on your guitar, and I think none of them will have a significant, if any, actual impact on this tone of your guitar.
I think it's stupid to change, like, say, from one boutique PAF to another boutique PAF. If you're going to swap pickups, go wild. Like, put something weird in there or put something unexpected or just completely change styles. Like, don't go like, you know what, this PAF, it's just, it's a little bit too warm on the low mids. I'd like it if it was just a little bit, had a little bit more edge on these certain frequencies. Like, adjust that on your amp.
So what I'm hearing is like, okay, if someone's like, hey, Ryan, should I get throwbacks or Ron Ellis humbuckers in my guitar? You'd just be like, you should get an EMG 80.
Right. No, like, or put in like a humbucker sized P90. Like, try something different. Like, don't like the cork sniffing around the same model of pickup. All PAFs kind of just sound like humbuckers. They all just kind of sound like humbuckers.
Somebody like wrote a book at you for saying something like that recently.
Well, I hope they do it again. We could use the help with our analytics. Get in there, juice them up. Get in the comment section and fight.
I feel like I get what you're saying. I think they're probably at that level. They're all different like shades of good.
And I could see someone going like, like I've got a Squire that I love and it has a very generic humbucker in it.
Sure.
And I want to, try this $250 humbucker that I read an article about, or that I saw someone else using on YouTube or something like that. I get that. I understand that if you are doing an upgrade from something that is a very standard, boring thing and you want to try the nice thing, but when you get stuck in the trap of you already have a version of the nice thing and you're like, well, this person claims that they use a couple more wines.
Right.
Don't. That's boring. Like the returns are so diminishing at that point. Just have fun and explore something completely different is what I say. If there's not a problem, don't try to solve the little issues you imagine could be better.
So what you're saying is like, if you've got a problem, don't call Vanilla Ice because it doesn't actually it's not worth solving.
Right. You don't want him to show up and solve it.
Yeah. Man, I'm just trying to think because I'm looking around like, what do you think? Okay.
All the like the pewter skull knobs.
You think that
and
doesn't
skull
matter.
bridges and stuff like that. That's the least useful thing. That actually will like decrease the functionality of your guitar.
Do you think about nuts?
I was actually going to say, like, I was going to spin off of the pickup thing that I was saying. If your guitar isn't having any issues,
right?
You're not having tuning stability. You're not having like major tonal issue. Is that even a thing? A tonal issue? Like, oh my gosh, this tone is a problem. If you're not having nut problems,
sure,
there's no reason to swap your nut.
Mm-hmm.
If your strings aren't binding, if they're not sticking and tinging and pinging, and everything's fine, like I really don't see a reason to switch from like a Graph Tech to a bone, or from a bone to a brass, et cetera, because most of the time you should be fretting. Like sometimes you're playing open strings, but most of the time, come on, your strings on a fret.
I guess that's something I haven't thought about in a really long time. Like I haven't thought about it in a long enough time that I've actually now kind of forgotten what the point is. I guess like a bone nut is going to be, is it like it polishes better, so it's going to stay smoother longer versus a plastic nut?
It's traditional.
I know like one of the things is it's interesting because on the new Fender Standard Series, they have the nut is made out of micarta.
Uh-huh.
And I looked that up because people are like, well, what it like? So
isn't it like laminated paper or something?
It's
like
laminated paper.
Yeah,
kind of, or fibers and
sure.
But the thing I was reading is
cellulose. That means it breathes like wood.
Is people were like, well, I don't even know what this is, and I looked it up, and micarta is basically synthetic bone. Like it's a trade name for a type of synthetic bone. It's like you said, it's like laminated fiber, like paper, or like whatever fiber, but it's laminated in plastic.
Yeah,
it's toned plastic, folks. So it's
which is what Graph Tech stuff is.
Yeah,
it's all resins and composites and stuff like that.
Right. It's resin. That's what the word is. Like resin is plastic.
Epoxies. Better living through chemistry.
So it's one of those things where it's just like, I just didn't know what it was. And I looked it up and I was like, well, that's an easy. And I found that like I think Martin uses micarta and a ton of brands use micarta.
Like I've played so many cheap guitars over the years that have just gross looking plastic nuts with like little fuzzies of plastic on the edges because they were working it with a file right before they put it in a box and didn't even bother to polish it. And guess what? The guitar still sounded like a guitar. And you put a little bit of graphite or lube on the nut and everything was fine. I really don't buy the hype. Like if there's not a problem, then there's not a problem is how I feel with nuts. And you know what? Another thing that I just thought of,
switch tips.
No, it's whatever. Like the switch tip is a tactile thing that you're interacting with.
Okay.
Like there's certain types of switches that I get along with and certain that I don't get along with. So like that's all personal preference. Locking tuners. No one actually knows what they're for or what they do. So many. Many people get locking tuners thinking that it's going to solve tuning problems for them. That's not what they're for.
Yeah.
It is not their function. And so many people waste so much money and pass over so many guitars that don't come with locking tuners because they've been led to believe by just the name of them. No one even told them, just the name that they're locking tuners. They're like, oh, locking tuners. If I want my tune to be locked, then that is what I need. I don't want my tune unlocked and flopping all over the place.
Right.
It's not what they do.
Yeah.
All they do is make string changes easier.
Yeah.
That's all they do. And then they, like most locking tuners, this might actually be a feature if you want this. They add a ton of mass to your headstock. If you're worried about neck dive, stay away.
Sure.
Because they add most locking tuners add a bunch of extra mass to your headstock. If you're
is that still, I mean, I've never owned a guitar with locking tuners.
And also like,
I just like, it just hasn't been a thing. I've thought about putting locking tuners
I have a bunch
on my, do you have a bunch of locking tuners or you have a bunch of guitars with locking tuners?
I have a bunch of guitars with locking tuners.
If you just had like a set of locking tuners.
Oh, I don't have any I've never bought a set to install on anything because it's unnecessary.
My Telecaster has one. It's always been this way. There's one tuner that's not actually sitting properly. I think it needs to be like pulled out and redoweled because it's one of the Fender style that like goes into like a little hole.
Yeah.
And it's not done properly, so it like wobbles around. But I thought about replacing all the tuners on that guitar with locking tuners just to because the tuners that are on there are pretty cheap.
Sure.
But it's not because anything's like wrong with the tuners per se. It's more just like seemed like an interesting thing to do.
Sure. Like if they do make string changes easier.
Yeah.
But it's like a time saving of like 5 minutes per string change.
Sure.
Not per string, per changing all of your strings. I enjoy it when a guitar has locking tuners when I'm changing the strings. Like, oh yeah, just thread it through and clamp it down and trim it and give it a spin.
Yeah.
Now you're good to go. I don't have to do extra little things and care about the wraps or whatever. But an annoying thing about locking tuners is that when you, for a lot of guitars, the way the headstock is designed, especially with like a 6-in-line Strat sort of setup, the way that the headstock sits in like a wall hanger, that low E locking tuner always interacts with the hanger and rubs against it, and you have to keep checking it. Every time I pull a guitar with a locking tuner off of a wall hanger, I'm like, I have to crank it down because it just putting it in there and it resting its weight will start to slowly unscrew the locking tuner. And if you don't check it, one day your string's just going to pop out. So it's like an extra thing you have to like remember about your guitar every time you hang it on a wall hanger. You got locking tuners.
You'll string your eye out, kid.
You'll unlock your tune.
Yeah.
Don't you want your tune locked?
I think, I think that's still a useful change. I can see where the applications work. If you're, I think if you're playing in a bar band or something, you're playing you're playing like a lot, like, 2-3 nights a week or whatever.
Sure.
And you want something that's going to assure, like if you break a string mid set, you can change that string like
super
without thinking about it.
Right.
Where you, like you said, like, you're saving 5 minutes on a full string change when you're just doing like tech work or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
It's not a big deal, but saving 30 seconds on because 5 minutes is
a minute of string. Let's just call it a minute of string.
A minute of string. Yeah. Right.
50 seconds of string.
So, let's say it's a minute of string versus, you're saving 5 minutes, right? You're saying you're saving 5 minutes.
I'm just guessing at that.
No. Like I'm just trying to like work through this where I'm like saying like, so say it takes 8 minutes to change all your strings on regular tuners, but with locking tuners, you can do it in 3 minutes.
This is all very theoretical now.
Right. But I'm just saying for numbers, my point being is that like, okay, say it's like, or 6 minutes versus 1 minute. Doesn't matter if you're on a bench, but now it means if you're in a live show scenario, it takes 1 minute to replace one string, or it takes 10 seconds to replace one string. And that's where the application actually makes sense. To your point, if you've got a ping, like if you're tuning up and all of a sudden you hear ping, the problem's not with your tuner. Your problem is you're binding either the nut or probably the bridge.
Well, it could be either or. But tuning issues are very, very rarely the tuner. It's typically the nut or the bridge.
Yeah.
Like that's just some sort of setup issue with the action and the relief of the neck or something like that. It's almost never the tuner. Like unless you get into like just the cheapest, remember like the gym backed, like the diamond backed tuners.
Yeah.
Of the 80s and the 90s. Those were awful. They're just completely unstable and jumpy. Like, we can talk about what the most useful changes you could make to a guitar. And every single time, in my opinion, the most useful thing you can change on a guitar, it's not changing the pickups to get a different flavor.
Changing your strings to string joy.
It is not changing the trem block to higher mass or some sort of musical metal that you read about.
Sure.
The most useful things you can change on a guitar are the things that are not working. If your pickup is microphonic and that is getting in the way of your performance or your recording or even your enjoyment of the guitar, change it to fix that issue. If you're having tuning issues because the nut is cut incorrectly, change it. Fix the issue. If you're having tuning instability because your trim's not set up or there's some sort of failure in the component, change it. Fix the issue. Like fixing issues is the core of functionality. Yeah. If you're doing things that don't fix an issue, you're just kind of dicking around for the hobby, which is fine, but there's not a lot of use in it.
I think that's actually a really good point. And to the extent where, back in the day, well, I would say back in the day is maybe it's different, like 20 years ago. But I know for a really long time, I would be on various forums and people would be like, oh, I just ordered, the Squier, whatever, classic vibe, Telecaster or Stratocaster or whatever. What pickups should I put in it? And the question I'd always ask is like, well,
what's the problem?
Like, what do you not like about them? Like, what are you going for? Give us more information. They'd be like, oh, I just bought it. I haven't even received or I'm going to buy it like tonight. And I want to order like the guitar and the replacement pickups at the same time. And it's like, well, have you played any of these in like, you're ordering it from Sweetwater, but have you played one at your local guitar center? And they're like, no, I just, I know they're really hyped and everyone says they're really good. So I'm taking this shot and, I can do my own setup work if it comes in a little wonky and whatever, but I want to swap out the pickup. It's like, you don't even know what's wrong with them.
You don't even know if there is anything wrong with them.
And I say that like, here's my, here's where it becomes a hot take for me. If I bought like an old, Les Paul Studio, American made Les Paul Studio,
made for the studio.
I know that guitar is going to have the Gibson 490, 498 set in it.
Yeah.
And
we all know that.
I'm going to know in the back of my mind, I'm probably going to have to replace these pickups, but I'm going to buy the guitar and plug it in and see how the pickups interact with the rest of the guitar.
What if you love them
first? And maybe that's the guitar that finally changes my mind on the 490, 498 set. Maybe it's going to sound freaking sick. And I'm going to be like, man,
you're going to be like, you know what?
I've been the
tone wood in this guitar interacts with the pickups in a way that I've never experienced
and then
before.
I'm going to jump on the 60 Cycle Hum Instagram account and I'm going to send Mark Agnesi a message. He's going to be like, Ryan's messaging me, but no, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, Mark, I've been talking shit about your pickups for a really long time. And I just want to apologize because I was wrong.
This is a beautiful story,
but that hasn't happened yet. But I'm saying, like, if you're buying a new guitar, wait till you get the thing to figure out if you don't like it. Don't plan a bunch of upgrades. I mean, I guess like you can plan the upgrades in your head, and there's certain hardware aspects.
I think the exception to what the scenario that you're talking about is if someone already has a favorite pickup and they know that they found the one that works the best with their rig, and they're like, you know what, I want a different guitar. I want a semi-hollow, but I want it to have the same pickups that I have in my solid body.
But that's like that's different because you've already decided. You're not going to randos on the internet saying, "Well, what pickups do you recommend for this?" And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't have your tone fingers.
Right.
I don't know what the,
there's been people,
you know what, if somebody says that, here's what I got to ask, right? Like, how tall are you? How much do you weigh?
What's your bone density?
Yeah. What's your bone density?
Was that last episode?
No, that was this episode.
Oh, because of the metal guitar. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my thing.
Over the years, I've had people write us.
Sure.
Sometimes emails, sometimes direct messages. Like, hey, Ryan, what reverb should I buy? What fuzz should I buy? And it's like, I don't know you, and I don't know what you play like, and I don't know what kind of music you make, and I don't know what you like. I'm still like completely open to finding my new favorite fuzz, and I've tried hundreds of them. Mm-hmm. I can't tell anyone what to buy for themselves. Like, and it's just so funny that a lot of people have this mentality of like, what pickup should I buy for this guitar that I just ordered? Dude, we don't know you.
And I feel like that's like something like a pickup. What I was going to say is I think there's upgrades you can plan. Like if you're buying, again, like a Squire or whatever, like something where, like, oh, like I'm always anxious about string changes. I'm going to upgrade the locking tuners right away. Like hardware, things like that don't directly affect tone in a way. I think you can kind of plan those right away.
There's some people who might argue that the increased mass on the headstock when you throw in
affects the tone.
Can be a tone thing. And like if that's your journey, that's your journey.
But I'm saying like that's not going to be your primary purpose in swapping like standard tuners out for locking tuners is because you want like a tonal change. It's a functional change. Swapping out your pickups is a tonal thing, and I think you need to hear that first.
I think there's a lot of people out there that they just want to make the thing that they have the best.
Yeah. And
so they just get really fidgety about swapping as much as they can for nicer components because they're chasing this idea that nicer parts make a nicer guitar. And there might be something to that sometimes, but I think to a certain extent, eventually you just end up with a pile of parts that weren't intended for the guitar originally. And eventually, like, you will start to change the personality of that guitar. And you need to ask yourself when you get to that point, do I like this guitar better now than when I first got it and it was stock? Or was there some part in the middle where I liked it better and now I've gone too far? Oops, I've gone too far. Maybe I need to backtrack a little bit. I've done that journey before. Like with my old Mexican Strat, I swapped the bridge. I swapped the trim block on it. I've swapped pickups numerous times. I've changed the finish numerous times. And there's certain things that I just went back to. It's like, you know what? I always loved the feel of the original bridge, so I've put it back in there. Like it is fun to explore. There is use in exploring and figuring out what you like and don't like. But at a certain point, we need to be honest with ourselves and realize when we've gone too far.
Yeah. And
you put too many hats on the hat.
And also to answer the question with current production models, the reverb that you should buy is the Maris Mercury X, and the fuzz you should buy is the Rush Amp Pet Box. All right, let's go to this next.
Those are Steve's recommendations, apparently.
Let's go to this next.
I'll say, whenever someone asks me what spring reverb they should buy, I've got two answers now.
Yeah.
If you want digital, I recommend the Source Audio True Spring. If you want a real spring, I recommend the Surfy Bear. Those are my two only recommendations right now. Everything else is like, oh yeah, that's good too. Like these are the two two that I officially endorse, I suppose.
This next ad was sent by John Kelly. We got a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
This is a customized Fender Telecaster El Dorado Eagle guitar for sale. This sale is for a customized Fender Telecaster. I bought this guitar 8 years ago and never got the backstory. Apparently, it's a one-off customization by an unknown luthier. Please look at all pictures. In any case, someone put a lot of work into it. Set up, plays nice, volume control, 3-position selector, Comes with padded gig bag. Specifics are custom built with genuine Fender components. Custom engraved maple neck does not preclude. I don't know what that means. 21 medium jumbos, Fender vintage reissue pickups, volume knob, 3-way rotary, no tone control. Custom sculpted and engraved body, custom multi-tone orange finish, custom engraved pick guard. If you elect to play it or hang it as an art piece, it will certainly add interest. Cash only. They're asking $450. Ryan, you, I believe, sent this to me. No, we talked about it.
We were looking at it
when we were going to record
2 episodes ago. Yeah.
And
you immediately figured out what it is.
Well, I wouldn't say I immediately figured out what it is, but I did figure out what it is. This is a Squire 51.
Yeah. But once you realize it, it's like, oh yeah, oh there it is.
Because did they ever make a Fender 51?
They might have. I don't know. I can't tell if this is a rebadge of the headstock. It looks pretty dang clean, honestly.
They did make a Pawn Shop 51.
Okay.
So maybe it's one of those.
Well, I think you might be able to tell by looking at the truss.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a good.
Even though this has been painted over, I feel like you would be able to spot it. Cause
oh yeah. I just need to find a good picture. Just need to find a good picture of the hole.
Steve just needs to find a good picture of the hole. He's not going to be able to do it. I will say, I'll comment on the rest of this. Like the Squire 51, even if there's a Fender version, if this is the Fender version, the whole reason for those existing seemed to be to cater to the mod market. Like the modifiers out there just went crazy for those things because it's just a bare bones, hardtail, swap pickups, like mod platform guitar that they were really affordable and kind of had a cool look. It was a cool looking guitar. So it's not really a surprise to see one heavily modified like this. The huge cut that's been taken out of it is a decision. I see they were trying to go for this kind of like hot rod take on a violin cut. Mm-hmm. I look at this and it looks like it looks like a health and safety concern to me. Like if you trip on stage and fall on this, it's going to cut your gut.
Oh yeah, it's going to hurt real bad.
It's going to rip right into your stomach and you're just going to be spilling guts all over the stage. And honestly, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it really flows that great with the design of the guitar. And like, it's saying a lot that that's the thing I'm mentioning before mentioning the eagle. Like
they carved out a space to.
It's a belt. They dropped a belt buckle in there.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Also, it's going the wrong way. It breaks the art rules. The eagle is going to be flying sideways and upside down when you're playing the dang thing.
There's like so many eagles on this. There's there's 3 of them. They kind of don't all make sense.
It's called the El Dorado eagle, the golden eagle. That's what El Dorado means, right?
Yeah. So this one in between the pickups is going up the neck. This one is going towards the player. It's kind of
and then there's one on the back that is going up towards your belly when it gets sliced open. The laser engraved thing or the CNC engraved thing, because they did it on the headstock.
Yeah,
which is one thing to engrave El Dorado special on the headstock.
Yeah,
but they're like, I bought this CNC engraver. I'm gonna use it. This huge engraving they did on the back. Like I get engraving the eagle, like you're trying to put a graphic there or whatever, but it's this wide. The text is this wide on the back of the guitar.
Yeah. There's
no reason for that. And then they engraved the neck. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah. The whole back says El Dorado Eagle Special. You know what?
It's cut into the active part of the neck that your hand slides on. They carved all the wood up.
The whole vibe of this is it's giving high school like Christmas charity auction to me. Like somebody, like this is like there's a El Dorado High School Eagles and somebody, guitar player,
Sure.
dad, really like that's the school he went to, and now his kids go there, and he's got a wood shop at home, and so he went to town on a Squire 51, but for some reason slapped a Fender logo on it, because this stuff I found some pawn shop 51s. They were all heel truss.
Really?
Yeah. So again, I'm pretty sure. I mean,
this is a rebrand.
Unless I'm like not finding it, I think this is a rebrand.
All right. I will give this person some props. I will give them some compliments, despite my misgivings about other details.
Sure.
The paintwork looks really clean.
The paintwork looks really I think all of the
the technical elements are pretty, like he's done this creative thing, or she, I don't know, did this creative thing doing this swoop of paint up the neck past the heel, and also doing the swoop on the headstock, doing very like a hot rod automotive thing. I bet this person has a background in an automotive paint.
Yeah, they both have that. On both cases, it's like a swoop and then the gold pen. Right. It looks really good.
The execution, even if it's not my style, parts of it are, parts of it aren't. Even if it's not my style, the execution, I cannot deny, is very clean and very well done. The engraving stuff, the engraving on the neck, the big engraving on the back, honestly, the engraving on the pick guard, it's too much for me. Unga Pachka. Hats on hats on hats.
Yes. But I want to say that, okay, it's hats on hats on hats, but they're very nice hats.
The hat is nice.
It's I think the laser work is like well done. I don't know how that stuff works. It looks very clean to me. It looks like, because sometimes we see these ones where somebody's done laser engraving, but they haven't gone back in and like cleaned it up afterwards. This looks very clean. The only thing about this that doesn't look well executed is this belt buckle eagle on it. Even the hook design, I agree with you that the hook design of this whole thing looks like you're just asking to fall on it and rip yourself open.
The hook design
is a bad choice that's executed very well.
It is. It's very smooth and clean and well polished. That hook is very like something we'd see done to a Mustang. Like that's like a typical like 1970s psychedelic trying to turn metal Mustang mod sort of thing. Like, I'm going to make this Mustang look like a BC Rich in 1978. Like that's almost a cultural thing for whoever did this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a lot of this feels like a display piece for CNC/laser engraving trade show booths.
Yeah, I can see that.
Hey, look what you can engrave. You could engrave a guitar neck. You could you could do this and this and that. Look at all the different things you could engrave. We did it over and over again on this guitar. We're gonna throw it under the machine right now and engrave something else. It feels like an advertisement for an engraving machine at a trade show.
I heard you like engraving, so we engraved an engraver with these engravings.
Oh, you don't think this engraving is deep enough? We're going to put it back underneath the machine, and we're going to make it another 1/8 of an inch deeper. That's right. The machine can detect the old engraving and make it deeper. Like it feels like whoever did this was really proud of their engraving machine. But I don't know, what do they want for this? Did we catch a price?
$450.
I wouldn't pay it, but I think I would. So if I saw this locally and the person selling it was saying that they were the one that did it, I wouldn't buy this from them, but I would message them and be like, what do you charge for refunds? Like, I see that you're doing clean paint work.
Yeah.
You're selling this for $450 and you've put a lot of work into it. What do you want to refinish something that I have and I like, and I just really want a color change?
Unfortunately, this was purchased by, this.
That's what they're claiming. I kind of don't believe them. I think they're embarrassed. No, I didn't do it. Whoever did this, I don't know why they did this. Like, I think they're playing coy.
I don't know.
I bet if I asked them, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, it was my brother."
so they know.
They know. They just don't.
Unknown luthier.
Yeah. My uncle did this. You know, like, oh, can I talk to your uncle? I have a Mustang I want refinished, but don't let him cut it.
Yeah.
I don't want it circumcised.
Oh, geez.
Did I go too far?
Maybe.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you were sensitive about circumcision humor.
My transitions are non-existent this episode. But this shows.
Speaking of circumcisions,
this episode is brought to you by Chase Bliss.
there. If you're looking to take your guitar signal, your fun little riff that you've been working on, and you want to take just the tip and repeat it over and over and over again, you might want to check out a pedal like the Habit or the Mood. Something like that. One of those granular, chop it up and spit it back out as a new piece of music boxes. What? These creative things that Chaseless pedals can do that honestly have nothing to do with circumcision at all.
Head on over to chasebliss.com. They usually do, like, I would say, like 3 or 4 really cool things during the year. So get on that mailing list, follow them on their socials so you can see when they I saw today that
Joel actually kind of told me what the next cool thing is.
Really?
I'm not going to give any hints because I'm a secret keeper. As part of my job is to keep secrets.
That's true.
But I can promise you,
it's cool.
It's cool. Yeah. And there's, just like always, there's more stuff coming from Chase Bliss in the future. So get on their mailing list.
I saw today about 70% of the mystery boxes have shipped. So congratulations if you got one of those.
That operation was just amazing.
And yeah, if you want to support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/60cycle Humpcast. You know, Ryan, we got a little bit of a slow start on this episode. After the last one, we took a little longer pause than usual. And during that pause, we were apparently joined by Amanda Marinovich at the best friends level, the $5 level. So I'll be sending out a sticker pack. I might throw in some of these stickers.
Maybe
I know
she'll get a Gaia-tone sticker.
I've got some other stickers coming in. So I like with the sticker packs, I'm just stuffing stuff into envelopes. So I like to do that with stickers that companies send in or that I get from pedals.
And you got 60 cycle hum stickers and you got hoop jumper stickers.
Yep, all kinds of, which is also a 60 cycle hum sticker.
Yeah.
And I think I might have so I got a whole bunch of PRS stickers.
Hell yeah.
If you want to support the show and the things that we do here, I'm trying to I don't know what I'm trying to do, but it just helps us out to do things that aren't just sitting around and waiting for the corporate overlords to send us a check.
Sure.
Ryan, you got anything new?
Nothing I can talk about.
I don't know what that means.
Secrets. What is Ryan hiding from us?
What is Ryan?
I don't actually have anything to talk about. I just wanted to spice it up a little bit, make it sound like I'm hiding something.
I don't think I have anything new either, actually.
No news is good news sometimes,
That's true. Let me make a timestamp note. We are 59 minutes and 13 seconds
is exciting
into
stuff.
the episode, according to
I'm glad Steve is sharing this information.
This last ad was sent by Lucas Servi. It's a one-off 3-string 32-inch scale banjo neck solid cherry body bass guitar. This is what happens when a guitar buff has too much time on their hands. I can safely say that there is no other bass guitar like this on the planet.
Good.
Left-handed 32-inch scale banjo neck, solid cherry body shaped to approximate a squatched telly, 115K hot rail pickup, 3 medium scale strings EAD. The remaining unused tuner hole has been plugged with a shaped dowel, as has the unneeded 5th string hole. This project started out as a what do I do with this long left-handed banjo neck question.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking when I look at it. Like, this person had a banjo neck. They had a left-handed banjo neck, and they're like, what the heck am I going to do with this?
They could have made a cigar box guitar, but the 32-inch scale was too long. It was long enough to make it using a bass guitar design a viable consideration. What's that?
Do they explain it all? The body shape, like what is it? Why? What is it supposed to be?
They said it's supposed to be a squashed Telecaster.
I guess. Like if you took a cutting board and were able to melt it and pull pieces of it and tuck a little bit, you can. It's like you tried to turn a cutting board into a Telecaster. I guess.
Yeah.
It's got Soviet vibes to it. It's got Soviet guitar vibes to it.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of got that, like, is it Jelena, the brand I'm thinking of?
One of them, yeah.
I think this is, like, if you were going to play electric bass in, like a Zydeco band, this is the go-to.
This would, like, I think okay, so the left-handed banjo neck that is converted to be a 3-string bass, I'm on board, baby. Like, that's my kind of weird, even though, like, functionally, there's a speed bump on the lower part of the neck as you're playing this thing.
You don't need to play that high.
All of a sudden, you're playing bass. You don't need to play that high. But you're sliding down the neck and like, oh, hey, I've got extra fretboard down here.
Yeah.
That's such a wild thing. But I'm on board for it. I'm totally on board. The hot rail pickup, yeah, why not? The individual string saddles, that's a very clever use of that hardware technology.
I'm looking at the way the low E comes down the neck, and I don't even know if it's playable above like the 12th fret.
I know, right? The body shape kills it for me because you could have done anything.
It's like it's very small body though.
It's super small body. You can tell this person has a bandsaw.
Yeah.
Or a jigsaw. They have some way to cut a shape. And this is what they cut. And it's not anything.
But what I'm saying is what I'm presupposing here is that is the entire piece of wood. That it was just like it was a smaller block of wood to begin with.
What I'm saying, get a different piece of wood. Like literally any other piece of wood. I don't care what piece of wood.
Just not this one.
Go to Home Depot. Spend $50. Glue some stuff together. Run some 2x4s through a planer and glue them together. Buy an actual cutting board and leave it cutting board shaped. That would be something. This is like,
how do you hate this body that much?
I don't know, but my blood is boiling looking at this body right now.
The temperature of this room just went up 5 degrees.
And you know what sucks about it?
What?
It's ergonomic. It's probably fine.
No, it's definitely neck heavy.
It's probably fine.
It's definitely gonna neck dive.
It is definitely not the worst functional part of this body, but there's this guitar. But there's something about this body shape that is pissing me off. It looks like a Midwestern state from another dimension. Like some other reality where state lines got drawn differently.
You know what it actually, now that you mention it, you know what it looks like? It's not a squashed it's supposed to, they're saying like it's a squashed Telecaster, like it's a vertical, right? Like
right.
Vertically, it still has this arm. What it is it is a west to east squished state of Oregon.
It's compressed Oregon.
All right, Ryan, it's that time.
This is gonna be a hard one.
We gotta pick our Adventurers Club.
We got the banjo bass, we got the El Dorado, and we've got Randy's guitar, the metal guitar. Man, they were all really fun. Yeah. And that's our fault because we're good at this show. We can make any ad good, right?
Well, my gut is, since it led me to coming up with the idea to found a Dumble equivalent guitar company where they need to know everything there is to know about you so they can customize the guitar.
You're going with Randy?
Your body. I think I'm going with Randy's guitar.
And I am going to go with that banjo bass. I think I had way too much fun.
You hated it so much.
I know, but I enjoy that it made me feel things.
I try to explain that to people when they ask, like, how do I win? I'm like, I don't know.
You have to make us feel something.
Yeah.
That's it.
The feeling is always different. Like, I mean, I said this last episode too, like, you know, do you catch Ryan in a good mood? Do you catch Ryan in a bad mood? But then my choice is sometimes it's like, I did a history deep dive, or like I came up with a really dumb idea, like, you know, like a guitar company that, you know, sells certain shapes to like big people. And like, oh, I'm only going to sell like, I'll only sell my dual sonic guitar to like dudes under 5'7".
Right.
You know?
And, you know, and when it comes down to moments like this, where the wheel's going to decide, you actually do have to do an animal sacrifice if you want to win.
I don't know if that's true.
Don't make it a pet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go find a farm or something like that. You know, it can be a goldfish. Go to Petco, get a goldfish.
Just smash a cockroach.
You don't have to kill it, but you do have to sacrifice it. So you take a live goldfish, you flush it down the toilet. It might live. Cross your fingers. It could be a sewer monster eventually, but that is a sacrifice that you made, and you did have to make that sacrifice to please the god of the wheel. Who's gonna get it? Oh shoot! Congratulations, Jonah Rees.
Jonah Rees, congratulations.
He probably sacrificed an animal.
Yeah. All right. This song was sent by Kyle Ketchemonia. Just says, new song. Please check it out.
Is that a Pokemon?
Thanks.
Well, I crashed my pickup truck. I just won another whiskey shot. Mama says you can't live this way. I haven't been sober in days. I crashed my ride. I'm lucky I didn't die. I wrecked my pickup truck. She's really fucked up. I wrecked my pickup truck. Walked away half-cut. The police tried to catch me. But baby, I am pure speed. When I hit the ditch, insurance made me rich. I'm above the law. When I drink Bud Light, I wrecked my pickup truck. She's really fucked up. I wrecked my pickup truck. Walked away half-cut. I tried to hit the brakes, but it's too late. With my bottle, I hit full throttle. Here we go. I wrecked my pickup truck. She's really fucked up. I wrecked my pickup truck. Walked away half-cut. Yeah, I wrecked my pickup truck. She's really fucked up. Yeah, I wrecked my pickup truck.
It's oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
It's not really the same, but it reminds me of an album that I bought back in the 90s or the early 2000s from a band called the Sanctified Glory Mountain Revival Family. I don't know if I ever showed you that album, Steve, back in the day. But it was someone who had taken a bunch of like old kind of like gospel songs.
Yeah.
Like kind of like mountainy, kind of like very old school kind of Baptist sort of feeling songs.
Sure.
And turned them into kind of like trip hop psychedelic remixes. But that kind of like that dragging kind of like slow gallop was taking me back to the Sanctified Glory Mountain Revival family.
I don't know if you ever showed me that.
It's a fun listen. It's a fun album. They got songs like If There's Hair on Your Ears, There's Sin in Your Heart. King James version is good enough for me. Like
that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure. I feel like there inevitably you threw it on. In
probably did.
Blue
in my
Dodge
minivan
Caravan or whatever.
It was an album that I put on rotation whenever I had friends in the car.
Right.
Because it was so weird. So anyway, it was a great song.
Yeah. Thanks for sending it in.
Everyone, send us your songs and
That's right.
your ads from the internet, and we'll send you a gift card.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Stay grounded.